It's time for Positively Kansas. Coming up, we mark the 30th anniversary of one of the most devastating tornadoes to ever hit the Wichita metro, maybe the worst ever. We'll revisit that terrifying day through the eyes of survivors and learn how it changed their lives forever. Also, Wichitans pay special tribute to a songwriter and musician who marched to the beat of his own drum and inspired many lives along the way. Plus, we'll catch up with a young Kansas singer-songwriter who is on the fast track to stardom. And the term shut-in has taken on a whole new meaning over the past year. Now Kansas seniors are slowly getting their freedom back, and it's cause to celebrate. It's great to see you. I'm Sierra Scott. The stories are queued up and ready to roll for this week's edition of Positively Kansas.
Positively Kansas is brought to you in part by...
Before investing your hard-earned money, make sure your financial advisor understands your objectives. Mark Douglas, CFP, serving our community for over 20 years, providing customized financial solutions that focus on the individual.
Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Kansas serves more than 930,000 Kansans in various programs. Independent, member-owned. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Kansas, an independent licensee of Blue Cross and Blue Shield Association, supports KPTS.
Program support provided by the F. Price Kosman Memorial Trust, Entrust Bank trustee, bringing you the Kansas Wild Edge segments on Positively Kansas.
It's a day that remains etched in the minds of many. It serves as a sobering reminder that the beauty of springtime in Kansas is often tempered by danger and destruction. It's been 30 years since the infamous Andover tornado plowed through a burgeoning Wichita suburb, leaving a trail of death and destruction. Anna Spencer spoke with survivors who say they've never been the same since.
From her dining room table, Michelle Madison flips through this photo album and retells the events of the devastating tornado that destroyed her home and changed her life.
It just blew right through like it was nothing.
It was shortly after 6 p.m. when Michelle's husband Wayne noticed the dark southern sky and quickly began gathering neighbors into the family's basement.
And when they all came charging down the stairs, I remember thinking, I saw Wayne. He was as white as a sheet. And I knew we were in trouble. He's like, everybody get down against the wall. And he literally starts grabbing his hunting overalls, his hunting jacket, his raincoat. He was just throwing it on top of us. And you feel this pressure. I can't describe, it feels like your head's gonna pop, but your ears immediately pop. But I looked under the coat and the whole top of the floor, it was the ceiling downstairs, but I knew it was the kitchen floor. Stuff was coming through the ceiling and I thought, how can this be possible? But all of a sudden it was just shaking and vibrating so much that I knew it was gonna fall. And as soon as I knew it was gonna fall in on us, I thought, I've gotta get Tyler under this chair. Because we were sitting huddled, and I thought if I get him under the chair, he'll live, he'll survive. All of a sudden I was just like, I started yelling. I just lost total control. I was like, please God, please God. And in my mind I kept thinking, spare us, just spare us. This is what I was thinking, and I was just pleading. And then all of a sudden it stopped.
The Madison family came up the stairs to find most of their home leveled, Michelle's husband's new truck blown away, and downed power lines as far as the eye could see. In her words, complete destruction.
And I turn around and there's no walls. It's like sitting here with no walls and no ceiling. And there was the kitchen floor, but I mean, it literally looked like the house had blown up.
Michelle compares the photos of her former home to the aftermath and recalls the family, friends, and Good Samaritans who came to help that night and in the days following. Her photo album serving as a visual reminder of a day she'll never forget. The supercell is often referred to as the Andover tornado, although it affected much of south central Kansas. It was this small community that suffered the most loss as the tornado sirens failed that day. Carlene Lovelady, just 16 years old at the time, vividly remembers that fateful day.
It was a Friday, and I love to tell this. I had a date to go to WSU and watch a music program, and my dad wouldn't let me go because he'd seen that the weather was forecasted to be kind of nasty, and he was a weather bug. And so I was pretty upset that at 16 my date was being canceled. And I said these words: "It's not like a tornado is going to hit Andover, Dad." And about 40 minutes later, I was witnessing that tornado hitting my tiny little town and thinking, ooh, I shouldn't have said that.
Carlene's grandmother and uncle lived in the mobile home park in town. Whenever severe weather threatened, it was customary for her family to gather their loved ones on their way to take shelter in her aunt's cellar. It quickly became apparent that this was not a drill.
And as we were walking to the cellar, we could hear the tornado in the distance. And my dad said, "Oh my God." And we turned and could see off in the south end just this massive dark cloud coming. And the sound, I always get goosebumps when I talk about it. It's the sound and the smell of the air and the feel of the air. There is something different on those days. This is not possible. And my dad just shoved me into the cellar.
Once the tornado passed, the family made their way back to the mobile home park to find her grandmother's house completely gone and the area in ruins. Her mother, a medical worker at the time, quickly sprang into action. But for young Carlene, the aftermath was overwhelming.
And she just kind of shook me and said, "Now's not the time. If you can't be a help, get out of here." And so I did. I left and I went to a friend's house to stay for the rest of the evening. I just remember how all of us coming together after the fact had so many different perspectives. It was like everything around us was devastated, even if we personally weren't at a loss.
The April 26 weather event produced tornadoes in Clearwater, Hayesville, and South Wichita. The fast-moving storm reached Andover at approximately 6:43. Longtime Butler County resident Brad Cox, a high school senior at the time, tells his story.
This picture here it's exactly where I was at point zero.
The photo mural located in Andover's St. Vincent de Paul Catholic Church captures the destruction of this small community. Brad remembers a brief hailstorm and emergency personnel directing residents to take cover.
I remember one gentleman that was sitting in the pizza before that didn't think that there was a tornado coming. He'd lived here all his life, didn't think that there was going to be a tornado coming. So he didn't kind of believe me. He stepped outside, and I knew it was serious. When he came back, he had a real serious look, said nothing, and walked straight to the basement. And we got everybody in the basement. It was still really kind of surreal. You're like, is this really happening? So we all got up underneath the floor, underneath the tables, and we're laying on the floor, and our ears popped. The pressure was immense. Shortly after that, they had wall sconces for lights. They all started rattling. Shortly after that, the floor in this deep basement started vibrating. So we knew that we were getting hit.
The Andover tornado was more than 600 yards wide. The tornado traveled more than 46 miles before dissipating. Brad and others quickly moved across the street to the mobile home park, beating rescue workers to the scene, and they started looking for survivors.
Pretty tough night. We continued to work and help our neighbors, our friends. My uncle lost his home in Springdale right before it hit Andover. And it was a devastating event for this area. We continued to work for about a week, helping everybody.
In the following years, Andover residents worked hard to rebuild their community. Local businesses, churches, and even the mobile home park have been repaired, restored, and rebuilt. This April, we mark the 30th anniversary of the Andover tornado, and while it's easy to take severe weather for granted, the accounts of these 3 tornado survivors remind us that we still live in a part of the country where deadly weather is not only possible, but extremely probable. I'm Anna Spencer for Positively Kansas.
That tornado outbreak killed 21 people, 17 of them in Andover. The Centers for Disease Control determined that without the advance warning provided by the National Weather Service and local media, 77 more people would have died. Our state has so many things to be proud of, including the many talented musicians who have called the Sunflower State home. One of those was Wichitan Bill Garrison, who passed away in 2020. Garrison was so highly thought of, the legislature honored his family with a certificate of tribute. Anthony Powell was there.
Whether he was jamming out on the harmonica or singing while strumming his guitar, nobody in Kansas played the blues like Wichitan Bill Garrison, which makes this comment from his brother Tom seem both surprising and sad.
That Bill didn't have a very high self-opinion in terms of his worth to the world, really.
Tom says that low self-esteem came from teachers telling a young Bill he would never amount to much. But Bill had a gift for music, and he would turn that blue feeling he had about himself into becoming an award-winning, highly influential musician and teacher. And it did not go unnoticed.
You know, Bill, he didn't perform out of a place of ego. He was there for the pure love of music and blues in particular.
On a blustery spring day in downtown Wichita, nearly a year after his death, Senator Mary Ware, a friend of the late musician, presented Bill's brother Tom and other family members a certificate of tribute from the Kansas Senate in appreciation of the tremendous impact Bill had on the Sunflower State music scene.
It just validates all that he was living for all these years. And it's an honor not just to Bill, but to the whole family. And we're just so overwhelmed by it, really.
As meaningful as this day was for Bill Garrison's blood relatives, it was equally moving for his second family, all the many musicians who gathered here and who played with Bill over many decades. There was indeed nothing that gave Bill more joy than getting together with a fellow musician.
I like to call him the ambassador of the blues, the goodwill ambassador of the blues, because he never had a bad word for anybody. You know, he was just a real kind individual.
Bill used his talents to help others. Among many other events, he organized a Greensburg tornado relief concert. Wherever Bill happened to be in Kansas, music followed.
It's everything, really everything. It was the way that he communicated best. When you talk about he who sings prays twice, and that's kind of the way it was. It amplified all the things that he felt were important.
After Bill's death in May of 2020, his family put together a video of his life. The pictures and videos poignantly accompanied by Bill's music. And then a year after Bill's passing, the touching tribute in Wichita's Nafsker Park. The perfect way to say thank you to a man who meant so much to Kansas music.
Made me very happy today that they came out, that they sat here as long as they did in this high wind situation.
For Positively Kansas, I'm Anthony Powell.
Above all, people at the memorial say they'll remember Bill's huge heart. Donating his time to play for the terminally ill is just one of many examples. It's been more than a year now since the COVID-19 pandemic sent long-term care facilities like nursing homes, assisted living centers, and rehab hospitals into lockdown. Today, families parted by the pandemic are finding their way back to one another. Anna Spencer looks at some of the efforts made to care for our loved ones, mind, body, and spirit during the past year, and what it means to finally be able to slowly open the doors once again.
Donning green in honor of St. Patrick's Day, this group of healthcare providers and supporters make last-minute arrangements and head to their cars for a special St. Patrick's Day parade. In decorated vehicles and with a leprechaun in tow, the caravan make their way from East Wichita to Goddard, visiting 22 long-term care facilities.
So our whole mission at Home Health and Hospice of Kansas is to make lives better. And so we really just want to kind of spread that St. Patrick's Day cheer to as many communities and people as possible.
Residents safely view the festivities from their windows. It's efforts like this that help keep protected populations connected with the outside community. The parade was a welcome sight as COVID restrictions and facility lockdowns reached the one-year milestone. Chisholm Place Community Relations Director Todd Allstat participated in the event and stressed the importance of communication during this unprecedented time.
For the past year, been doing a lot of Zoom conferencing, a lot of FaceTiming. We have increased our, tried to make sure that support groups are available for families. Just simply because everyone's going through a different situation through what we've gone through the past year. And so it's keeping that communication. It's making sure that people are still feeling like they are not so isolated when they are staying at home.
Since March 2020, long-term care facilities have relied on guidelines provided by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention and the Kansas Department of Health and Environment to navigate the COVID-19 pandemic. For Chisholm Place and many other facilities like it, technology and social media have become vital in maintaining connections and preventing isolation and loneliness. A quick look through the facility's Facebook page and you'll find hundreds of photos of residents as they experienced a year of restrictions and navigated holidays, special occasions, and everyday life on the inside. Life Engagement Director Morgan Mermis says Chisholm Place quickly adapted to the COVID changes as they moved away from group activities and instead focused on one-on-one engagement with the residents. The facility also arranged for family visits through Zoom and FaceTime, but she says efforts from the outside community, like the St. Patrick's Day Parade, help bring joy to the residents.
They love it. Their world is so different now versus when they were able to have families come and take them out to go and get their hair done or go and get ice cream. And so when we did have to shut our doors and we had to get really creative, Todd and I and the leadership team, and just like kind of marketing to find ways to still be involved with the community. And community partners have been great, and they reach out, and we've had people stop by and like paint stuff on our windows and car parades and just everything, and they love it. It makes them so happy to be at those windows and see what's going on outside. Any little thing that's out of their routine and out of their norm, they love it. Things kind of get repetitive, and with everything going on, you try to find new activities, but you're kind of limited when you're, inside for a year. So they love anything like that. And we've been super fortunate with our partners and just people reaching out, wanting to know how they can help.
Merma says the staff, families, and the residents are excited for the day when they can once again welcome visitors. Thanks to the rollout of the vaccine and recent on-site vaccine clinics, she says that day is getting closer and closer, and those on the inside and the outside can't wait. In Wichita, I'm Anna Spencer for Positively Kansas.
Screenings, a limited number of visitors, mask requirements, and other precautions will remain in place at many long-term care centers for the immediate future. Now to the great outdoors, where Mike Blair has something extra fascinating and visual for us this week. Do you know what a parasitoid is? We get a good look in this week's Kansas Wild Edge, but be warned, it may gross you out a little bit.
In Bambi Land, the natural world is a harmonious place. Disney would have you and me and the kiddos believe that animal societies all work together for a tranquil kingdom full of love, fun, and understanding. If you'd like, you could eat a cupcake and dream along. But real life is different. I'm fascinated by large and beautiful caterpillars that eventually fly as colorful butterflies and moths. If benign and gentle creatures deserved safe passage, then these would live in peace. But hold on. While filming white-lined sphinx larvae today, I saw raw nature. These giant eating machines seldom threaten their host plants, in this case 4-point evening primrose. Scattered by their mother while depositing single eggs here and there, they have little feeding impact on their wildflower benefactors. But tachinid flies crash the party. The tiny white specks seen here may seem harmless, but they're eggs of this voracious fly parasitoid. If you can take it, keep watching. Otherwise, turn on Disney Plus. Here's what really happens when tachynids attack many kinds of insects. A female fly finds a host and starts to work. A tobacco hornworm senses imminent danger and writhes vigorously to discourage its tormentor. But the fly is relentless. Sooner or later, the outcome is sure. The fly lands again and again, laying an egg each time. It's the same with every species. And finally, when the deed is done, she leaves. Attached eggs hatch and tiny maggots burrow beneath the skin. At first, not much changes. The baby flies eat their host from the inside out as it continues to live and feed. But the maggots get bigger and start to affect the caterpillar's organs. The caterpillar gets sick and stops feeding, and the flies continue to grow and eat their living host. They finally kill their victim. By then, they are mature and ready to change to adults. Sometimes they exit a corpse. Sometimes a still living host. Then they burrow out and drop to pupate in the soil. Either way, it can't survive. It's a grisly scene for a praying mantis or a monarch butterfly. Or a fallen hornworm. After a week or so, new flies emerge from the soil, mate, and look for more victims. It's their job. Gnarly, but it's the real stuff, and it happens all the time. I'm Mike Blair for Positively Kansas.
Parasitoidism has inspired science fiction writers to create parasitoidal aliens that latch onto human hosts and slowly kill them. A famous example is the 1979 movie Aliens. A lot of teenagers play instruments and sing. It's a wonderful pastime they can enjoy for the rest of their lives. But when 17-year-old Evan McIntosh sings and writes songs, she means business, literally. It's now her full-time career.
It's like the only time I see your face.
What dreams are made of. The hit single from Evan McIntosh's hit debut album, Mojo, which has been streamed several million times. The soulful singer-songwriter is a social media phenom. Fans from all over the world follow her on platforms like TikTok and Instagram. They love her unique, rich, bluesy voice, her deep lyrics, and her name, which her parents saw in a baby book and decided to make it more feminine by adding an N.
I think I always knew that I wanted to do something with music.
It was at age 9 or so that Evan started writing songs. Music was a big part of her childhood.
My dad listened to a lot of like Motown stuff or like classic rock. And then my mom listened to a lot of like 80s or 90s like R&B.
Music is indeed a generational passion in the McIntosh family.
My parents had a lot of Motown on when I was growing up, a lot of Marvin Gaye, Four Tops, things like that. So we always had it on in the house because it's feel-good music, right? If you're cooking or whatever.
It chase you down when you start as falls. Don't run too fast when you run it.
But for Evan, who turned just 17 in 2021, her biggest influence by far has always been and remains Prince. She is also inspired by Billie Eilish,
With me, and you say,
who writes about a lot of the things Evan identifies with.
I mean, it's a hard time to be like a young person There's so many, you got to think about like political things. It's all around you. The world is on fire, you know.
You got COVID.
Yeah, you got COVID and you got like social media.
Despite those difficulties, Evan is grateful for the success she has achieved. She is especially thankful to her parents who have helped her with the business side of music, enabling Evan to work with a top record label, manager, and producer. Most of all, though, she appreciates her parents for always believing in her music.
It is sort of bluesy, it is sort of soulful, but it's unique. You know, it's not, you know, the definition of unique, it's one of a kind, right? And I don't know where it came from, but it just showed up.
Evan also credits somebody else in the family for her performing abilities. Her longtime popular Wichita radio personality grandfather, Steve McIntosh.
I would always say, hey, what page is Ted and Sierra Scott going to be on this time?
Right,
and,
exactly, yeah.
All right.
It was like huge to me that he was this like local radio host, because that was crazy. And you go in there, you see all this equipment, and you got to see him like talk on the radio.
With those kind of genes, it's no wonder Evan loves showcasing her talents. She's going to be touring at some big events once it's safe enough. Touring, a new album, and more. The future couldn't be brighter for this Derby teen.
Because I know a lot of people don't have these kinds of opportunities, especially out here. It's something that I'm really glad that I had the opportunity to do and make it this far.
Well, how many people are, you know, blessed to do what they're passionate about and make a living out of it? So again, I mean, we're nurturing that too. That's a gift.
For Positively Kansas, I'm Anthony Powell.
Evan has become so busy with her career, she's had to give up high school. She earned her GED to focus on the challenging and rewarding worldwide music scene. Well, time for us to split the scene and say adios, but be sure to keep in touch. PositivelyKansas@kpts.org is our email address. I'm Sierra Scott. Take care. We'll see you again soon.
Program support provided by the F. Price Kosman Memorial Trust, Entrust Bank trustee, bringing you the Kansas Wild Edge segments on Positively Kansas.
Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Kansas serves more than 930,000 Kansans in various programs. Independent, member-owned. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Kansas, an independent licensee of Blue Cross and Blue Shield Association, supports KPTS.
Before investing your hard-earned money, make sure your financial advisor understands your objectives. Mark Douglas, CFP, serving our community for over 20 years, providing customized financial solutions that focus on the individual.